So, in the last video about the sewing machine, I got it assembled and set up. I've been using it for a few weeks now, and it is actually an incredible machine, except for the fact that it's too fast. Can't control it. So, I did what most normal people do and went looking on Amazon for a speed reducer. And unfortunately, all the speed reducers were out of stock, and I didn't really want to wait. And plus, I really just kind of like making my own stuff. I feel like it gives me an insight into the workings of different things. So I built my own speed reducer. As you'll see, it's no great thing of beauty. It's big and heavy and bulky and has slowed the machine down to a very usable level. Okay, so this contraption is made out of mostly scrap stuff that I had in my garage. I had to pick up a few things at the local Tractor Supply, and I ordered the pillow bearings online from Amazon. Tractor Supply, I got a 5/8 bore, 1.75" outer diameter A-belt pulley. A-belt because that's what they had. That replaced the 75mm pulley on the servo motor itself. I also picked up an 1.5" outer diameter 1/2" bore pulley. I also picked up a 5" 1/2" bore pulley. I don't want to take this off, so I'm just going to leave it on. 36 inches of 1/2" outer diameter hardened steel rod, zinc coated, so that I didn't have to do any cleanup work to it. And like I said, pillow bearings came on Amazon, and at one of the local auto parts stores I picked up a L319 belt. This is a 9" belt. It's actually a little too long. I just haven't ordered the appropriate size belt for it yet. I think I'm probably going to try and go with an 8". All of this stuff together cost me about $60 locally. I am fairly certain that if I'd have ordered it on Amazon, you can get aluminum cast pulleys on Amazon for really, really cheap. I probably could have done this thing for under $40. But I didn't, so I wanted to get it all done locally. Other than that, it is a couple pieces of angle iron, box tubing, and random miscellaneous hardware. And then I used 1/4-20 inserts in the steel so that I didn't have to worry about nuts or welding things on the back. And since I didn't take any pictures of, or video of me putting it together, I'll give you a couple of overviews on how it went together. So I pulled the 75mm pulley off of the servo motor and replaced it with the 5/8" bore keyed 1.75" pulley that I picked up at Tractor Supply. Once I had the pulley back over the key, I tightened the set screw and then put the lock washer and nut back on the servo motor. I then set the entire contraption in place by sliding the back piece that tightens against the insides of the legs inside the channel, and then putting all of the belts on to hold it in place. Stuck the servo motor to pulley belt on then, and then put the pillow bearings in place loosely with screws. Used my funny little bent screwdriver to tighten the screws down. Then tighten the set screws on the outside pillow bearing. Pulled the entire contraption down inside the channel, which tightens both belts, and then tighten everything down with a wrench. Put the tension screws back on the servo motor. Once I get the shorter belt, these will give a little bit more room for adjustment. So then the next question is normally, does it still sew? Just get this under the presser foot, Alright, so two major downsides to this contraption. The first one is, if you've got to change the belts or something like that, you've got to pull one of the pillow bearings off. That's not that difficult to do because they're threaded inserts for the most part. You just use a stubby screwdriver or a little bent screwdriver, pull the piece off, put it back on there, and it can be all done on the assembly on the machine. The second downside is that with this thing set up the way it is, you can't tilt the head back to add lubricant or anything like that to the machine, which means I've got to loosen this up, pull the belt off, drop the head back, lubricate it, put it back. The good news is you don't do that very often. The big benefit to this, in my opinion, was I didn't have to modify the table. A lot of the pulley systems and stuff like that, they involve having to widen or lengthen the channel that the belt comes up through. I didn't have to do that, and I didn't have to do any other bizarre things to the table to make it work. And there we go. Went from a sewing machine that was so fast I couldn't even sew anything that resembled curves with it to something really, really easy to control that may actually have a little more torque than it did when it started off with. It's a solid machine, and so far I've been really, really impressed with it, but a lot of the stuff that I was hoping to do, I wanted to be able to sew curves and stuff like that, and I just couldn't do that with even on the lowest servo motor setting, and that's on the lowest servo motor setting right there. I can actually turn it up, so if I'm sewing something, Bellatrix, don't knock the camera, so if I'm sewing something bigger or longer, I can just turn the speed up and it'll do the same thing. So, anyways, pretty happy with it. Works, solid. Hopefully it doesn't self-destruct my machine. Guess we'll find out. Have a great day.